how to get a raise, and 10 tips to prove you deserve the raise at work. Now, I used to own my own companies and I have connection with a bunch of managers, directors, and CEOs, president of companies, you name it, and I have a wealth of knowledge. Now, here is the thing that you need to know. Raises every year, a good raise or to keep up with inflation is 3 to 5%. Now, that's according to the national average for raises, and for a good raise, it's between 6 and 10%, depending on your job field. So that is the range of raises. Now that you know how much you can get or how much you should deserve. Now, very first thing you need to know is you have to convince your boss that you deserve the raise and that you are worth the investment. So, what can you do? Why is proving that you deserve a raise very important? Depending how big your company is, your boss really might not know what you do for the company. And this is where the point of you need to prove how much you make, because bigger the corporation, harder it is to get a good raise. Just how it works, because they normally standardize it. For example, they standard everyone gets a 2.5 or 2.7% raise. And based off your performance review, you get the other, 4 or 5%, counting on what inflation does, right? So this is your chance to prove that you are worth it and that you are worth the investment. Now, there's different ways you can prove how you're worth it, but at the end of the day, here's 10 tips that can help you get a raise at work. Now, number one is take initiative. Look for a way to anticipate the need for both you, your boss, your teammates, and show that upper management that you're self motivated and that you're assets to the company. Additionally, your supervisor will appreciate anything you do, and important, it shows efficiency at work. So, when you take initiative at work, it helps with the flow of work because they're not waiting for someone to, you know, be voluntold to do things. So, I'm not saying you have to do every single project or do everything, but if you start doing more than an average person, you will start standing out. I'm not saying you have to be a superhero and take on every single task at work. But if you start taking on one or two more tasks, they'll start noticing it and you will start being able to look for promotion and also incentive with raises. Now, what's the next thing you can do? Number two is maintain a positive attitude. No, it's important to always stay positive at work. There's a bunch of negative people at work. They don't want to be at work. They hate work. But don't be one of those negative people at work. Well, I always tell people if you're negative at work, you get negative on the raises portion, where if the average is 3, you might get 2.5 just because they don't deem you worthy. And your negativity bring down the other team, so they don't want you to stay around. So they try to keep your raises at the lowest. This is one of the things people need to understand. Raises also helps remove people from work, and this is what I mean. They have to give you a raise, but they don't have to give you a good raise. And matter of fact, at the end of the day, they don't have to give you a raise every year. So you have to recognize that raises, is to help people with inflation, and they don't have to give you a raise. I worked at a company that they did not give a raise for about a year or two, and there's nothing anyone can do. They just stuck around or they found a better job, counting on the situation of the company. Yeah, at the end of the day, try to keep a positive attitude, bring that energy to the team, and that will help everyone understand that you're a good person to be have around. I was always the positive person at work. Something go bad, I always took a positive spin on it, and everyone noticed it, and they loved me having on the team just to give them a better spin on things and not have someone always sad. So now, what other thing can you do for so that you can get a raise? Is number three is keep it learning. Now take advantage of all the developing your skills and expand your knowledge, such as asking thoughtful, provoking questions, shadowing your supervisors, reading educational book, taking online courses, and attending conference and seminars. By continue learn your education, or learning new skills, it'll help with you in the job. You might not understand this now, but more you spend time learning for your job and mastering your skills, the better you look when it comes to raise time. Because let's say there's only one or two people that certify a certain program at work, or one or two people have only a certain certification. You know what? That makes you more valuable to the company because it takes time to fill your position. You're not an average employee. The whole point, if you want better than average raises, you have to be above average employee. And that's just at the end of the day how it works. You can't expect to have great raises and you only be average. If you do average at work, expect only average return on your raises. And if you expect great returns, you should be above average. Now, your next thing you should do is set goals for your careers. Another great step towards earning a higher paycheck is to set time goals for evaluations, for career path, establishing goals. Once you have a clear idea, you should know about, hey, I have this great goal to be a manager by this age. Now, what steps you have to take to become a manager? And this is where it helps to for the pay. Because now that you have these steps, you're getting certification, you're taking management classes, or you're even increasing your skills to become a better engineer for certifications, guess what? You are more valuable to the company when you set these goals, and you can set goals for pay. If a certain company doesn't pay you enough, I'm sorry to say, you might have to leave because it haven't set your goal right. Now, make sure it's very reasonable. So, because sometimes people don't have reasonable goals. So, what does the next one is set reasonable expectation. Now, I know you can Google how much you make, Google how much other people make, and Google what regional people make. But the issue is when you start researching your job title, the industry, the index salary, and the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, make sure you take the correct numbers because the numbers can be skewed based on the data you get. So if you analyze the data and only look in the California location because they make more money, you try to compare it to a Utah location for your pay, guess what? You can be disappointed on pay, and you need to really set expectation based off your local regional area and not nationwide because regionally is what you're getting paid, not nationally. You can argue that you're not making national pay, but at the end of the day, they're going to go off of regional pay for your job. Now, the next one is schedule a meeting to allow your boss proper time and conversation to schedule your race. Now, when you schedule this meeting, you need to make sure you pick the proper time. I usually tell them about 6 months, 7 months before raises time. So half a year in, say, hey, I'm not making enough XYZ. Is there any way I can work on getting paid better? And they usually can budget it in if I show them that I am worth it. The whole point is I have to show the company I am worth this amount of money, and that 6 months will help prove my point. So schedule the meeting with your boss so they can help you get this raise. Because the other thing is they have to put in paperwork in bigger corporation why you deserve this raise higher than other people. And it's not that easy. They have to get what you do. They have to say this is how much money you either save or bring in. This is why. And or you're just underpaid. They have to give these lists of reasons and go through the HR process, this whole back end process that a lot of people don't get to see. I got to see it, and it's not the easiest thing to get someone a raise in a big corporation. In a small mom and pop shop, you can go up to the boss, say, I need 50 cents, a dollar more, and they can give it to you almost on the spot. But if you're at a big corporation, guess what? It is not as easy. There's a check and balance to it, and you just have to play the game if you're part of a corporation life. And that's just how it works in corporation. Now, the next thing is communicating clearly. Now, if you're an employer and you start taking on tasks, responsibility, or you start taking management role and start taking leadership in large groups, guess what? You can tell them, hey, I can take this roles and experience to get more experience, but at the end of the year, I need more money to do these type of things. You need to be clear. Some people love being leaders of group projects. Some people love being lead engineers, and then some people just love not doing anything. So you have to tell them, hey, if I start taking leadership role, I need this much more to do so. Because if you try to do it in a if you're trying to take leadership and don't tell them that you want more money, they're gonna be shocked when you tell them, "Hey, I want more money." It sounds, you know, how can I say, not that smart or uneducated, because with more responsibility, you should get paid more. That should be how it works, but that's not how it works. Some people likes to do it, some people don't. So you have to understand you need to have a clear communication to your bosses and leadership. If you want more money, you need to tell them, I want more money if I take more of these roles. That's just be very clear about it. There's nothing I can say about that. And the next thing is be patient. Now, you need to understand that any paperwork in the corporation world takes forever to do. There's nothing you can do to rush it. There's a check and balances. And to get a pay increase, they might have to ask 4 directors, 5 directors. They might have to go through HR. And just remember, if your boss considered giving you a raise and they tried, understand, just have a communication with them. Ask them, what's the status? How long does it normally take? And be honest, for anyone that ever tried to ask for a raise at work, that's not during the yearly raise, it takes what I've seen is 3 months to even 9 months to implement that raise for you. And that's almost a whole year to get that raise. And it's normally due to budgeting um, issues, or it has to go to HR, and then it has to go to, HR director, and then back down to your manager. So guess what? They're negotiating for your salary, and this is one of the reasons why I tell you be patient, because your manager might ask for $4 raise for you. Your director said, I agree. They go to HR. HR says, no, I give him only $2 raise. And they start negotiating and trying to find out, because you can ask for it, but then the manager has to ask the director has to ask the HR director has to then start talking back to everyone. So it's a whole bunch of negotiation in the back end for your raise. Now, next thing is you have to understand, pick the right timing, because if you pick whenever the work is busy, HR is busy, the managers are busy, you will not get your raise. At the end of the day, you have to pick the perfect time to do it. Now, for example, many companies consider raise after 1 or 2 years of employment, and not within a couple months of being in employment, because it just doesn't make sense. So you don't really expect a raise until a year or maybe even 2 years into a company, and that's just generally how the books work. Now, the other thing you have to pick a perfect time is you want to pick the timing where you shine the best. So after you have completed an important project, that's a perfect time to ask for a raise, because you say, I finished this project, I saved this company X amount of money, I made this amount of money for the company, and it looks better at the time. Now, the next part you need to understand when you pick the perfect time, always pick it after, or always pick during your annual performance review, because just because they give you a 3.5% raise, 4% raise, does not mean you can't go back and ask for more. And that's the time you can request, hey, during my performance review, I did really good. I think I deserve an extra 2%, 3% more raise. And they might be able to fight for you if you get the right paperwork and prove that you deserve it, because you did such a great job that year. And lastly, if you really want a raise, and this is the biggest help, is you have to get endorsement from effective from your supervisors that you deserve your raise, from colleagues, from other management directors. You have to get feedback from a bunch of different people to help you get the raise. And this goes with promotions too. You can't really get a raise without a lot of people agreeing on it. And it's weird how it works. I know you think you deserve that raise, but at the end of the day, if you don't get people to agree that you deserve on the raise, then they will not give you that raise, because it takes more than one person to fight for you to get that raise. Because let's say, example, your manager fought for you to get the raise and your director fought for you, but the HR saying no, he does not deserve the raise, he's getting paid top dollars. Well, maybe someone from another department, another manager comes in and say, hey, if we do not do this and we lose this person, my department also is going to be hurt because he does so well or she does so well in the department. And if you do this, my department is going to lose X amount of money. Guess what? Now HR has two managers going against him, and he's more likely to turn around and say, yes, we need to give this raise now. And that's how corporation works. So that's my 10 tips on how to get a raise at work. So like and subscribe to my video, and that's all I got for you.